Mike Jacob coming at you from a vineyard somewhere in the middle of the Judean hills. This week's Parsha Shlach. When the spies return, they say Lashon Hara about Eretz Yisrael. Vayetziu dibat haaretz. They said Lashon Hara about Eretz Yisrael. They complained about the size of the fruits, the size of the grapes, the size of the people. They said Lashon Hara about Eretz Yisrael, and their punishment was because they said Lashon Hara about Eretz Yisrael. But if we look at the Parsha, there's a few psukim that they said Lashon Hara, maybe 3-4 psukim that they said Lashon Hara. The Jewish people complained afterwards, and what was their punishment? Their punishment was 40 years in the desert. 40 years in the desert because they spoke Lashon Hara. Why was it 40 years in the desert? Because the time they spent when they were looking at Eretz Yisrael was 40 days. So based on the 40 days, they're punished for 40 years. Now, why 40 days, 40 years? That's a different discussion. But the question that's asked is, if their Aveira was the Lashon Hara that they said, and that was a few psukim, so what does it have to do with 40 years in the desert? What does it have to do with the 40 days they spent walking around in Eretz Yisrael? So it's a well-known answer as follows, that Lashon Hara, speaking something negative, that's the Aveira that we do. It comes out that way. But what's it based on? What's that Aveira based on? What's those words based on? It's based on my thinking. What I think negative, when I think negatively about something, and then it comes out. So the Aveira is the Lashon Hara, but it's really based on the way I'm thinking. So when they were walking around for 40 days in Eretz Yisrael, it was 40 days of negative thinking. And it came out in a few psukim, a couple of words they said. But they're punished for all the negative thoughts they had, and they had to stay in the desert for 40 years. And that's the really idea behind Lashon Hara. That's when we talk about Bein Adam Lechavero. So it's the idea of how I think. It doesn't always have to manifest itself in speech. The Aveira of Lashon Hara, is through speech, but the real problem is how I'm looking at other people. Do I have an ayin tova, or chas v'shalom, an ayin ra? I see people, they're people that rub us wrong, they're people that I don't like, they're people that, are weird, or we think are weird, or we don't like. Life is very complicated, and people are very complicated, and situations are very complicated. And, if I see something, I have to understand that, maybe it's his background, his upbringing, his schooling, his financial situation, his family, whatever it is. I have to have that in mind and think positively about other people. Until I'm in his space, I can never think negatively about another person like they did. They didn't realize that everything that they were seeing was really okay. And that's really the problem. The 40 days was just collecting negative thoughts in their mind. And it came out in a few sentences. And they were punished for 40 years. So that's what we have to know. We see something we don't like, stop and say, hey, I don't know his background. And think positively, and then we'll avoid the Aveira and the problem of the Meraglim. Take care, Shabbat Shalom.